association. That's it.
I write checks for my mortgage because I want a copy of a receipt that they cashed it. That's the only real way I can do that with them. I mean, yeah, I could get it, but I don't trust them. Also, my gardener, my landscaper.
Oh, yeah. I guess that makes sense, too.
No,
all right, folks. Well, as you can see, we are all back. We're all back in our proper locations. Well, Raj never was not in his proper location.
Well, I was in Europe for a while for the last month.
So. Okay, so there you go. Yeah. Raj is back in his proper location. So, feels good. Feels good to be back.
It's just like being at home, literally.
Same here, actually.
Actually, me.
All 4 of us.
And Roger, I believe we're 4 for 4.
Yes.
Well, Zoe brought me bacon. Look.
Oh.
And this lovely mic flag, which is really just a flag, but
sandwich flag.
Sandwich flag, cheese flag. Yeah.
It's a sandwich flag. You put them in there because some of your sandwiches will fall apart unless you have something to hold it together, like a toothpick with a flag on it.
And she gave me some Union flag pins as well, so that I can run for a post as MP. I can put a little flag pin, UK flag pin.
Oh, don't make me send you Australian stuff to make it look better.
Well, I just need to add some stars, and I'm almost almost there.
You can get some red ones. You can be a Kiwi. It's fine.
Yeah. All right, you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Ready.
Here we go. Daily Tech News Show is powered by you. If you're confused by that, find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, October 11th, 2017. I'm Tom Merritt.
And I'm Sarah Lane.
And joining us from Melbourne, Australia, Mr. Raj Deut is with us today. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Hello from the future. It's bright and sunny here on Thursday.
Oh, that's true. This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, October 11th for me and Sarah. It's the Daily Tech News for Thursday, October 12th for Raj.
You know, it's kind of a fun fact. Raj is experiencing my birthday before I am.
Oh, happy birthday from the future.
Feels so good to hear from the future.
You get 2 birthdays because we have Raj on the show. This is great.
Woo! Yeah.
Producer Roger Chang is here as well, writing a check.
We'll write a check after the show, yes.
For your gardener?
Yes, on the mortgage.
All right, let's start with a few tech things you should know. Russian Finance Minister Anton Silyanov said Wednesday that, quote, the state should regulate the issuing of cryptocurrencies, their mining, and turnover. Russian President Vladimir Putin shared a meeting of senior Russian officials on the issue Tuesday. So it looks like Russia is going to crack down on cryptocurrencies.
eBay founder Pierre Omidyar discussed a white paper from his Omidyar group listing 6 key areas where social media has become a direct threat to democracy. Including, but not limited to, political manipulation. We've heard a lot about that lately. Omidyar hopes it will be the basis for understanding the impact of technology on democracy in general.
Yeah, and we're going to take some time to read through the actual white paper, at least I am, and talk about this with Justin a little more tomorrow. So if you've got thoughts, take some moment to read it yourself and email us feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. The Bell, as reported by the Korea Herald, says its sources say LG has formed a task force to explore building a foldable OLED display for Apple. LG is rumored to be working on a foldable display anyway, but apparently they're going to be working on one for Apple. Production of such a panel wouldn't begin until 2020.
Interessante.
All
right. Moving on. The California Department of Motor Vehicles released revised regulations that would allow autonomous cars without steering wheels or foot pedals or mirrors or even humans to be tested. After a 15-day comment period, the rules would be submitted to the state for enforcement beginning in mid-2018.
Yeah. Now, U.S. federal rules are underway as well, but this is the first state to make it very clear, like, yes, we're going to allow this. I mean, and there's lots of rules about how they have to tell the state they're going to do it and when they're going to do it and stuff like that. But before, it wasn't allowed at all. There just wasn't a way to do it. Here are some more top stories. Oculus is having their big conference, and so out of there, they have changed the price of the Rift headset to $399. If you're saying, well, it wasn't at $399, it was temporarily $399 for a while, and then it went back up to $499. Now it's back to $399 for good. Oculus also announced the standalone Oculus Go. This is a mobile VR headset, pretty much a Gear VR without the need of a phone. So it's compatible with all the Gear VR titles, but it has its own WQHD LCD screens and spatial audio, and you don't need to connect it to a phone. Oculus also demonstrated a new design of its standalone full VR headset, codenamed Santa Cruz. This would be a version of the Oculus Rift, basically, that you wouldn't have to plug into a PC, so it's a lot more powerful. Santa Cruz won't need to be tethered to a PC or use external trackers. It's got an inside-out tracking system. Oculus says a developer's version of the Santa Cruz will come next year. The Oculus Go starts at $199, shipping early next year. And finally, Oculus for Business is a new program to let companies buy VR equipment in bulk with enterprise-level warranties, a full VR commercial license, and dedicated customer support. They want to encourage companies to start using it in the workplace for work-related uses, not just for employee recreation or anything.
I mean, this is, a lot of announcements, a lot of kind of marketing type feeling announcements.
Sure.
And certainly the Rift being dropped back down $100 kind of says to me they want to move some merch that they're not moving.
Yeah, they also are really trying to cut ahead of the HTC Vive and say, look, we want to gain that market share. But it also feels, the fact that they didn't talk about a new Rift, they just did a price cut, and they're only talking about Santa Cruz, which is probably 2 years away, means that maybe they'll do a spec bump at some point, but I don't think they have any plans for a new Rift. Raj, what do you make of this?
Yeah, it's a little interesting because a couple of weeks ago we had the Microsoft mixed reality announcements as well, and the big reveal there was that Samsung were coming out with a Microsoft MR headset, which was previously the partner for Oculus with the mobile sort of stuff. Now, Oculus have come out with the Oculus Go, which is around a sort of similar standpoint and has some of those features as well. So this is them sort of potentially shifting to cover themselves off as Samsung may move away from them in the future. Yeah. And have a product in that range. Santa Cruz, I think, is interesting and is what a lot of people really want with the inside-out tracking, wireless, and it is going to be a while away. I think they've got to stay relevant between now and then, and they're trying to do that by being competitive with the price point, being the one that people know about the most, and they definitely have the biggest name in the market. And anything that brings the price of VR down and gets it into the hands of people is a positive for me. Just from a gaming perspective, it's still an expensive peripheral to have. So actually making that barrier to entry lower is only a good thing and only helps perpetuate the gaming industry in VR.
Yeah, the thing that saved Google Glass too was enterprise. Enterprise use of Google Glass still exists. People forget that often because there's no public presence of it. Oculus isn't near that kind of disappearance from the consumer space, but this Oculus for Business, I think, is a really good move from the perspective of let's make a lot of money on the tech we have, but also it may also drive consumer use, because a couple of the examples they gave were Audi using it to create a virtual showroom. So Oculus for Business was done by Audi corporate to create the showroom, but the showroom would be meant for people to use in their own virtual headsets, maybe like an Oculus Go. There's also a collaboration bit that Cisco showed up with, like a virtual whiteboard. So lots of interesting use cases there. And that's kind of the big thing with VR, is finding what the killer use cases are still.
And it doesn't help when you have Zuckerberg touring Puerto Rico in VR. That did not go down well.
Yeah.
No, there's something about having a cartoon avatar representing real people that.
No, the problem was Facebook's Spaces, their VR chat room there, is meant to be fun and lighthearted. And when you're
Right.
touring a disaster area,
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Lighthearted sends the wrong message.
Right. All right, keeping with the hardware theme, some interesting hardware coming out of Amazon today. The company released a new version of the Kindle Oasis e-ink reader, which has a slightly larger display than the previous Oasis, going from 6 to 7 inches. Also a little bit heavier, not too much. The new Oasis is also waterproof with an IPX8 rating, which means it can stand 2 meters underwater for up to an hour. So you could literally go snorkeling and read the entire time. The battery also supposedly lasts 6 weeks instead of 2. That's a huge bump. Also has Audible support for audiobooks, and there are a few different models. The $250 models for the 8 gigabit version, $280 for the 32 gig, and $350 for a model with cellular support. Pre-orders are open now, and the new model ships October 31st.
You know what I like about this the most is that it got heavier. And it's
really?
Yeah, it's not for the Kindle specifically, but I think phone manufacturers could probably take something from this and actually give us batteries that last more than a day, or just adding a millimeter back onto an iPhone just to give us that little bit extra. That gives us. I still carry around a charger with a 8 Plus because by the end of the day it's dead. And if it's not at a desk, it's dead. And so it's an ebook reader, so it's a little bit different in terms of battery life, and 2 weeks to 6 weeks is a significant jump, like you said, Sarah, but just adding that little bit extra in there, I don't think having the ultra thinnest device really is always the perfect answer for people. And I like that Amazon are doing this. I think that's a positive move.
Especially when you're kind of replicating the experience of reading a really good book. I mean, my favorite books are like big and heavy. There is something psychological maybe for the older crowd that you don't necessarily want it to be thinner. That's not always a good thing.
If it's too light, it doesn't feel like you're holding anything, right? There's a perfect weight in there. And I have a feeling the increase in weight here is simply because they increased it to 7 inches, but there is the idea of like, oh, I know I'm holding it. I don't want it to be too heavy. That's the nice thing about a Kindle is I'm not holding a big, thick hardback. But at the same time, if it's too light, then I don't feel like I'm holding anything at all. After Artem Rusakovsky at Android Police reported that his preview version of the Google Home Mini that he got at the announcement was almost constantly recording and sending all of his audio back to Google without him saying the wake word, Google looked into it, and they traced the behavior to a hardware error causing the wake button to be activated even when Artem was not pushing it. In fact, it was just constantly being activated. It was thinking it was being touched. Google says this affected a small number of the pre-release units, and they have released a firmware update as of October 7th that just disables the button for all users. Now, the Mini doesn't ship to the public until October 19th. I'm curious if they will then continue to find out what the real cause of it was and reintroduce the button push, because it would be a little weird to ship these to everybody with a button that they're like, actually, that doesn't work. You just got to use the wake word.
I mean, not only not working, but being potentially like a huge invasion of privacy.
Well,
like,
when the only
this
fix
is
to
like
just break
this is
the
everyone's
button.
nightmare about these speakers as it stands now. Is like, do we trust them to not be spying? So if a company's like, whoops, we spied, didn't mean to, it doesn't really give anybody
and I think Google's doing the right thing. Like, just turn the button off. Okay. We have a big enough problem with people not trusting us without this happening. So just break the thing.
Amazon has begun rolling out customized voice detection. Since we're on a speaker kick, why not? This means that users in multi-person homes can get individualized experiences based on their voice. So, for example, your personalized calendar or music selections or etc., as opposed to anybody else in your household. Google announced the same functionality for Google Home back in April, so Amazon is playing a little catch up here. But the company's new device is compatible with Echo and any other Alexa device tied to an Amazon account.
So this is two things about activation. Activation is certainly not perfected in these kinds of devices. Raj, do you use any of these?
Yeah, I'm a big user of them, actually. I import the Echoes because they're not sold in Australia yet. Amazon is still starting their facilities up here, which hopefully should be up and running by December. But I have Echoes all around the house, and I use them to control a bunch of smart devices, whether it be turning on the TV or lights, or now with Sonos integration. Very happy that that's finally come to fruition, even in limited capacity. So yeah, I've invested heavily in the Amazon side of things, and even had some time developing skills for it as well. Not the easiest platform to do that on, I should add.
Yeah, believe me, I know.
Yeah. But you know, the introduction of the multi-user functionality, I think, is really good. I don't personally have that issue, but it's a step forward. And Amazon, this is sort of the one few areas that Amazon is playing catch up to Google. They've definitely been the leader in this market, and their products have sort of been one step ahead from Google. And I think Google are doing their best to catch up, but it's going to come down to who does it better and which one works. And for me, so far, that's always been the Echoes versus the Home, even though the Home has Australian translation or Australian accent
translation.
Yeah, detection. I've just found the.
What is Raj saying? I can't.
Yeah, it's actually doing it right now. So
yeah,
you've got some of those.
Raj isn't speaking; it's the Echo.
Yeah, or Pixel Buds or whatever that Google showed off the other week.
Right.
So, yeah, no, I'm totally on board with this, and going back the story, having it listening to you all the time, they're kind of doing that anyway. We've had Samsung do that with TVs accidentally before as well. So yeah, it's good.
I look at this new Amazon Echo thing, and I can't tell whether I should be excited yet. I want to put it through its paces, because on the one hand, it does sound like you have to upload your contacts to activate it. I hope there's a way to say, no, I don't want to do that. And the reason they would have you upload your contacts is so that you can say, call my mom, and it'll look through your contacts, because it'll recognize, oh, that's Tom talking. Look at Tom's contacts and call his mom. Or when I say call Jeff, it knows to call my friend Jeff, not Eileen's friend Jeff. If for instance, we had two different friends, probably more of a use case in houses with kids. It also, I can't tell if this is going to stop accidental activation. Will I be able to start saying the word Alexa on the show without having to introduce a pause or work around it? It doesn't seem clear that that's the case either. It might still work for guests, just not allow them to order things online or play music or anything like that. So I can't wait this rolls out, because I'm very hopeful that this will solve a lot of problems. Adult video site Pornhub announced it's using machine learning to add tags to its videos. First wave will use facial recognition to identify 10,000 stars and tag them. Plans to scan all 5 million videos within the next year, then move on to other kinds of tagging based on video content. Now, it is often the trope that technology really doesn't arrive until the porn industry adopts it.
Right.
VHS,
finally, tags will be acceptable.
Blu-ray. AI-generated tags for videos are definitely going to arrive now.
Well, hey, if you are a person who wants to feel more organized,
well,
it's like as I'm saying this,
easier to find what you're looking for.
It's not going to work. Sure, Pornhub. They're a.
I'll give you another
in the industry. I would think that they would be testing out all sorts of stuff to help their customers.
There was a story yesterday along similar lines with Dubai Airport that you may or may not have seen, where they're introducing the aquarium. Yeah, so people can walk through a tunnel in the departure lounge, and essentially all of the biometrics will be done automatically by you looking around with Face ID. They're going to have AD cameras and things like that. So similar sort of stuff. I think we're becoming more and more used to this sort of technology, and if it's benefiting one industry, whether it be the adult one or others, it's going to get rolled out and become further accepted. Yeah. YouTube could do with it as well, obviously.
Yeah, and Facebook already does it. If you want to look for pictures of your friends, it'll use facial recognition to find them. This is a much larger effort on a much larger scale, as far as, you know, you've got 10,000 individual faces across millions of videos. So it's, you know, yes, haha, it's porn, but it's also, you know, if you take the type of content out, this is a huge challenge for machine learning. I'm a little skeptical that they can actually pull it off the way they're saying they will, but we'll see. No double entendres were meant.
Just gonna leave that well alone.
Hey folks, if you want to get all tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to Daily Tech Headlines at dailytechheadlines.com. It's available on the Amazon Echo as a flash briefing. You can get it on the Anchor app and also sometimes through the Google Home, thanks to Anchor. And that is a look at our top stories. All right. Raj was on, so I was hoping there'd be a good Australian story, and this one is fascinating. The Supreme Court in Brisbane, Australia, has ruled that an unsent text message can, in fact, serve as an official will in the case of a 55-year-old man who killed himself in 2016. The unsent message was found in the draft section of his phone and contained information on how to access bank accounts, as well as directions for the disposal of his remains, and indicated that the man's brother and nephew should be the recipient of his house and any remaining funds rather than his next of kin. Normally, the next of kin automatically gets it if it's not otherwise specified. His next of kin would be his wife, who he had apparently been continually separating from and had separated from shortly before he died. Justice Susan Brown said the wording of the text indicated deliberate intention on the man's part. Now, the law, as I understand it in Australia, says that you must create your will in front of two witnesses and all of that. But in 2006, there was a stipulation put in place that said less formal interpretations of will and testament could be allowed in certain cases. And the judge used that in this case. Do you guys want to parse the message itself before we discuss further?
Can I just say, like, first knee-jerk reaction is, oh my God, if you guys could see all the drafts in my phone right now that have not been sent for good reason. So for you know, just kind of like, oh, I was in a mood, or, you know, I wrote up some stuff and I didn't mean it, or things changed or whatever. Big part of my life, I'm not sure I would be comfortable with anybody getting a hold of something that lived on my phone that had not actually been sent to anybody, that was designating, you know, where my finances were going.
Well, first of all, something happened with your levels there. They went down a little. I could hear what you were saying, but it was a little low. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, there we go. But I get what you're saying. Like there could be all kinds of things. My first take on this was, well, if it was in his drafts, change his mind. Like, this is not his last will and testament. That's what a draft is. Yeah.
It's a mind changer area of texting and emails and all those, like, you can't look through my drafts and consider that me talking to anybody.
On the other hand, timing would indicate it was very close to the time that he died. Right. It was certainly the last thing he wrote. There weren't multiple versions of it. Raj, what do you think?
You know, the first thought that comes to my mind is, what phone did he have that they could get into his drafts?
I wonder if it wasn't passcode protected, or maybe the brother knew the password. I don't know.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it's 2006. He was a 55-year-old man at the time.
2016. 2016. So not that long.
Sorry, 2016. Sorry, the law was changed in 2006. Yeah. So, you know, he could have been rocking a Nokia 8810 or something. Like, who knows? Yeah. But it is a bizarre case, and leave it to Australia to come up with it, I guess. You know, they talk about the rocky relationship between him and his wife, and he had almost no relationship with his son, but he's left everything to his brother and nephew. If I'm reading the message.
Let me read the message text. He says, "You and nephew," and the paper redacted the nephew's name because he's a minor. "You and nephew keep all that I have, house and superannuation. Put my ashes in the back garden. Wife will take her stuff. Only she's okay. Gone back to her ex again." All caps. "I'm beaten. A bit of cash behind the TV and a bit in the bank cash card. Pin number. My will." That's the last two words. I think that's what convinced the judge, is after all of that, it showed that he had an understanding of his estate and that he ended it by saying, this is my will.
Well, and also, I mean, as someone who never has a pen and paper anywhere anymore, because I write everything on my phone or my computer or whatever, it's the equivalent of like finding a will next to somebody's body, right? It's not really that different, I guess, in the eyes of this court.
I don't know if there's more testimony to the veracity of the message. Like, did the cops find it first when investigating? But because there would be a question of, well, wait a minute, did the brother just write this in the drafts and then go, oh, hey, look?
Yeah, and she can, the wife or anyone in his family could potentially contest this still. So, you know, it's definitely, whilst a decision's been made on this particular
well, she was contesting
point.
It. That's why Justice Brown was making.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, is the wife was the brother had said, look, he said it. This is mine, and the wife said, "Oh no, the unsent text messages don't count." Turns out, they do. In this case.
Do we know if the man was under the influence of anything? Because that would add another layer to this, right?
Sure.
He's obviously distraught.
That's a very good question. We don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my first question. Is like, okay, well, you know, what level are we on right now?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose when I say we, I mean we three here, based on this one story at The Verge, don't know that, but perhaps the autopsy concluded no, you know, he didn't have anything in his system. He was fine.
Right. Because I think that would add another level of gray area. Like, okay, well, you know, at what point is, you know, this to be taken as fact or whatever. But at the same, I still go back to like, oh man, drafts are drafts. They weren't sent for a reason, even if by mistake.
I'll tell you what, though, what I do like about this is the law is flexible enough, and we could disagree whether Justice Brown made the correct decision, but this law is flexible enough to say, listen, if you didn't have two witnesses on a formal will, there may be circumstances in which it's very clear that the will was expressed, and the court should be able to take that into account. So I'm glad of that.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Get in there and discuss the stories of the day with other people who watch the show. And if Reddit's not your speed, or you just want a different kind of discussion, maybe you spend all your time on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow. One message of the day before we get out of here. We've been following the story of Mike, who asked about how to pick a pacemaker, and he's gotten some great advice. I've been forwarding this advice along to him along the way, and he followed up with us to let us know how it all went. He said, I had it installed today. My doctor recommended a Medtronic, as our fellow listener mentioned. He was not surprised when I inquired about the hacking and said that mine did not have remote monitoring and that he thought companies were steering away from that at the moment due to the hacking concerns, which that would be unfortunate. Anyway, surgery went well, and I'm now sitting at a comfortable 60 beats per minute and looking forward to getting out of the hospital and starting my new life as a cyborg. Congratulations, Mike.
I'm half cyborg with a Medtronic as well. Not a pacemaker, but an insulin pump. So welcome to the fold.
Welcome to the Medtronic fold.
Yeah. That cyborg life. It's like the cool place to be.
Yeah.
I think the idea that companies would steer away from Bluetooth because of hacking concerns is very sad, because anything can be hacked. But there should be good security precautions, and there's so many benefits to be had from remote monitoring and remote control by your doctor. It could save a life to have that opportunity. And granted, you have to balance that over the security, but it is possible to have a fairly secure device. So I do hope that companies do not abandon that line just because of this one scare. I hope that they try to perfect the security of it and take that seriously.
Medtronic do for the insulin and continuous glucose monitors have wireless monitoring between the pump and the glucose monitor, but it doesn't use Bluetooth. The competitor Dexcom uses Bluetooth, and you can look at that on your Apple Watch, which is really exciting. But it forgoes functionality that affects how the delivery of your medication is done. So the Medtronic one, which has a closed loop system, does essentially stop insulin delivery if you are going into what's called hypoglycemia, but it only does that because it has its own communication system using RF and so forth. So yeah,
very interesting, very interesting. Well, and that's the kind of thing that might be the secure path. Is here's an attachment for your phone. The app will then work with the attachment to communicate securely, and if the attachment isn't on, then nobody else can get into it.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. We've got good news. There is a brand new reckoner.com at reckoner.com.au. Raj has been working very hard, it sounds like, on this. How's it going?
Really well. It's been a labor of love for the last sort of 4 or 5 months to get this thing together. And we're really happy with how it's turned out. We're introducing a few new things. We've got a big giveaway, which is open to North American, Canadian, UK, Australia, New Zealand, giving away a Nintendo Switch and some nice things from Logitech, a new mechanical keyboard and Plantronics headsets. So all you got to do is click on that welcome to the all new Reckoner link up the top right there and punch in a survey, and you can potentially win one of those prizes, as well as a yearly subscription to The Sizzle, which is a Australian daily tech roundup via email, which is very popular here in Australia. So yeah, definitely check it out, and by all means jump on and let us know what you think and what you like and what you don't like. And we're also got a new sort of short video catch-up called The Week That Was. So rather than doing everything up to beat like you do, Tom, we're doing it posthumously for all the lazy people once a week.
Much
a 3-minute
smarter,
catch-up
to be
called
honest.
the... Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll see how it goes. We're trialing it for a month, and hopefully, so far the feedback's been good. But The Week That Was, you'll find that on Instagram and YouTube and all the other social media hangouts.
Well, thankfully, we've got some patrons here that have been keeping us up and running so that we're able to do this daily. And Sarah, this was the first big test of the new regime over the past several days. So thanks to everyone for their patience with us. But
Tom and I have experimented with lots of things, different hardware. Go out of town. Let's both go out of town, throw in a natural disaster here and there, and just see how everybody deals with it. So thanks everybody for your unwavering support.
Yeah, no matter what happens, no matter what technical or audio issues or whatever happens, we are always trying our best. So please know that, and also know that the reason that we're always trying our best is because of you supporting us. So big thanks to everyone who continues to support us at patreon.com/DTNS. The first of our DTNS Labs episodes is out for patrons right now. It's Scott Johnson giving an overview of all of the gear that he has tested for Art Tech. You can find that at patreon.com/DTNS. If you're not a patron, you'll still get it. You'll just have to wait until Saturday when it will come out in the feed for everyone else.
Lots of ways to find us. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time or 20:30 UTC at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. Our website is dailytechnewsshow.com.
Back tomorrow with Justin Robert Young joining us. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
All right. Good show, Raj. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Awesome.
It's good. This is the sweet spot of the year in terms of the latest I can get up to do the show. So you've done well until you hit the end of daylight savings next month, and then it gets worse. So we've timed it
Daylight
successfully.
savings ends. Oh,
I know. Well, and it ends in Europe. We're going to have to keep an eye on this because it ends in Europe at a different time than it ends in the US.
yeah.
And so our UTC time will change twice. Or will it?
Well,
actually, the UTC time won't change when Europe changes, I guess. But it will change
that's
when
the point of
our...
UTC, right? Is that it's
because
constant.
UTC is universal, right? No, that's right.
Yeah.
So it'll only change when our daylight savings time changes, but then we'll be an hour different.
Well, I thought about it and I was like, what's the silver lining? you switch back to standard time and you gain an hour. So everyone likes that. But then anyone who has pets that like to eat at a certain time are just going to bug you an hour earlier.
Oh, yeah. You know what's funny is my dogs don't bug me to eat now, which is a problem because Django invariably would like an hour before it was time to eat start like, hey, just want to go early today, you know, just get out of the way.
Yeah, like I'm just going to start bugging you.
Yeah. Whereas Ray and Sawyer, they don't bug us. And there was one night where we didn't feed them until bedtime because we're like, holy crap, we forgot to give them dinner.
And they were like, whatevs, you know, you'll get there.
It was weird.
Maybe they're eating secretly on the side.
Yeah, that may be.
You know what else is secretly on the side? Show titles.
Ooh, yes. Good one.
All right. We have last will in SMS. My last will in texting meant slightly ease off 75.
Let's not joke about that.
Zoe brought Tom Bacon. Happy birthday from the world of tomorrow.
Oh, I also got to see 40 Thieves. 40 Thieves showed up in person. And Bitman showed up in person. It was so nice to meet people by their names.
Oh,
sorry, Roger. Keep going.
Meet up. Did you take photos?
Yes. Well, I didn't take enough. I should have taken more.
Oops, we spied. My bad. The mini that knew too much. Pornhub facial recognition. Sarah rethinks joining DTNS.
I did not.
So Roger. We need to get away from just rote reading of all of the titles because it's going to get you in trouble.
But how was that? How was that?
I'm just saying. I'm trying to head off a problem before it happens.
I can see the problems.
Okay. All right.
Where is the problem in the last one?
That one's not one that you're going to consider for the title.
No, it's not like we're not going to be like
the ones you know we're not going to consider.
All right. Well, in that case,
I'm doing it for you, Roger.
Oh, I maybe the climax of AI. I'm sorry, that's a good one.
That's fair. If you think it's a good one, that's fair.
Hey, I thought the last one was good. Jeez.
I know. Did you really though?
The climax of AI is slightly, but it's clever.
Okay. All right.
I don't hate it. I just don't know, what our.
I'll tell you right now, I'm not putting porn in the title. That's so there you go.
Fine.
No,
fine.
Nor should you.
I like happy birthday from the future.
Last will in SMS. I like that one. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Does it bug you, Sarah?
I just worry that because it's about somebody's suicide.
Yeah, I know. That does make it's not if it was, passed quietly in his sleep at age 85, it's got a different vibe.
Right.
I hear you.
I like big Kindles and I cannot lie.
It's not that much bigger, but it is technically that is true.
Yeah. Well, and we did talk about how it being heavier is a good thing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like who wants a thin little Kindle? Too light and it's no fun.
E-ink face and an Oakland booty.
Well,
happy birthday from the world of tomorrow.
Well, it's not even.
Oops, we spied my bad.
Like, hard to decipher.
Touched by, and a lot of porn ones here, so I'm actively blocking it. Also skipping any will-related ones.
We have worked ourselves into a corner here.
You have worked yourself into a corner.
Well, the
big books are better.
My new life as a cyborg.
One of us.
That's
I
like that one.
How you feel about that one, Raj?
Yeah, why not? Sounds good.
A vote of purest enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Cyborg.
It's 8 a.m. I've been up for 2 hours.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I totally hear you. I'm still a slight bit jet lagged, but I'm in that sweet spot between the jet lag, where I was awake in both time zones.
All right. So that the pick? My new life as a cyborg.
Yeah, I'm good with that. What else? What else is going on?
See.
Nothing. There's just nothing going on.
You mean in the world or within?
Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about titles still.
Oh, no. I was saying now that we've picked the title, what else is going on?
The world. Tom, I'm not the right person to ask. The world has been bumming me out this week.
Well,
Yeah.
not. It doesn't have to be the world according to Twitter. Like, yeah. No, I guess you're right though.
There is actually, you know what? I have actually a good story. So, so many of you know, earlier this week, where I'm from, where my mom lives now, it was a huge fire, a lot of devastation, just really, really sad stuff. There is it's sort of like a zoo of sorts called Safari West that's in the northern part of Santa Rosa, which is a city in Northern California. And it's, lions and tigers and giraffes, and it's this big swath of land, and it's really cool. And kids go there, and it's really fun. Like, it's like a cool zoo run by people who really care about animals and, are interested in letting as many people as possible see these animals up close. And during the fire, the man who runs Safari West saved all of his animals and let his own house burn.
Wow.
Because he felt that the animals, and there are like 1,000 animals at the Safari West, a lot, where, that was actually what his life's calling was, always meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of had to make a decision, and none of the animals died.
That's amazing.
I thought that was really great.
Yeah. And it's not near us in LA, although we have our own fires here, but they're not nearly at the scale of Sonoma and Napa. But it has been devastating up there. And, I mentioned that Sarah wasn't on the show Monday because of the fires, and her mom lives up there, and your mom's okay. She's
fine. She was evacuated, and it was a little touch and go for a while, but no, she's back home. They have power again. So she's been really lucky.
Yeah. But you were the first I heard about it. Because it had just started on Sunday, and it wasn't till Monday that it was really getting out of control.
Yeah. It was really scary. I think a lot of people, you think like, oh gosh, something catastrophic happening, especially when you're, far away from home or otherwise helpless, is, and not everybody is out of the woods yet, but just considering that it's sort of where I'm from, I've been obviously glued to this whole thing. And
oh, sure, yeah.
Some of the nicer stories that have come out of it, of just, people going the extra mile, or just people who are firefighters. My God, can we just thank people who choose to be firefighters as a profession?
Yes, absolutely.
I can't think of a harder job.
Wildfire fighting is for crazy people. And thankfully,
I can't
they are.
Think of anything that would be more sort of dangerous and difficult.
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult, not to mention dangerous, like you said. Yeah. And it takes a certain mindset. I mean, you could be the strongest, smartest person in the world and not be able to do that job, because it requires just a specific mental state and ability that only some people have. And thank goodness those people are willing to put their lives on the line, literally.
Yeah, I know. It's so admirable. It really is. And
the people that I've talked to who do that sort of don't shrug it off per se, but they're like, well, I can do it, and I want to do it. And, they sort of feel like, I'm sure you'd do it too if you're good. I'm like, I don't know. I don't, I'd like to think that I would, but it's impressive.
Yeah, it totally is. So yeah, what else? What else is going on? Tom, you made it back from the UK.
I sure did.
Jet lagged, but intact.
The meetup was great. Again, huge thanks to everybody at the Founders Factory and Will Harris and Chelsea and Graham and Claire and all of those folks who put it on. There was an epic ping pong match between myself and Will that came down to the very last point, and then Will won. You know, but he was the host. I couldn't really beat him, right?
Well, yeah, you know, yeah, that's
Would have been rude.
it's the English way, polite.
And then Ian Morris and I played some ping pong after that, and we just sort of stopped counting.
He just played for fun.
And then declared it a tie. Yeah. Yeah, that Founders Factory is really interesting. It's in the same building as the Daily Mail.
Daily Mail.
Yeah.
It's a very
which is
tabloidy.
Yeah.
Well, and not even just tabloidy, but old school journalism, like the oldest of old school.
Yeah.
And Will says it's hilarious because all of these startups in the startup accelerator will go to the pub there on the corner, and they'll be sitting right next to these like hardened old school journalists. And he's just like, it's the craziest thing.
And this is in what part of London?
This is in
London,
Kensington.
Right?
So
Kensington.
really posh neighborhood.
So it's a nice, it's a nice part of London. Oh, isn't that nice? I went to a I guess it was a WeWork facility, which is like a co-working space. When I was in London a couple of years ago, and like in the Soho area, it was beautiful. I mean, the space was nice. You had conference rooms, they had lunch and, beer on tap. And it was like, whoa, this is great. I've been to WeWorks in California, and the London one seemed like twice as good.
Way nicer. Yeah. We got to go to the YouTube Space London because one of Eileen's friends still works there. That one is just crazy. Well, it's all of Google London and YouTube combined, but the offices are just ridiculous. They're in King's Cross, right next to King's Cross Station.
Yeah, I know.
And they have this big glass building where you can just see out over all of London.
I think Facebook has a big hub there too.
Yeah.
Because I've been to the Facebook offices in King's Cross.
It's not the Silicon Roundabout, but more tech companies are moving there.
Interesting.
Silicon Roundabout.
Well,
what do you call it in Australia, Raj? So there's the Silicon Beach, Silicon Valley, Silicon Hills in Austin, the Silicon Roundabout in London. I assume it's the Silicon Cafe where you smoke gawas in Paris. I'm not sure what it's called there. Do you have a name for it in Australia anywhere?
Not really. Our sort of like VC industry is really just in its infancy, and I guess there's probably been like really like some names bantered about, but they just haven't caught on because they're so stupid. And everyone goes, well, no, there's Silicon Valley, and that's it. You've got Silicon Valley, nowhere else. In Australia, you just have Brisbane and Melbourne and Sydney and the cities that you have an office in. But yeah, it's really interesting. We only just sort of got sort of true startup accelerators in the last 18 months, I'd say, maybe 2 years. Everything else was coming out from the US. So like you would have, you'd want to go through an accelerator program or something like that. It was US backed and funded. And essentially the program was picking you up and relocating you to San Francisco. So you could be in the real Silicon Valley and pitch to everyone.
You on your flight.
Here's how you set up a company in the US. Here's how you incorporate yourself in the US. And here's how you pitch to people in the US. So
I feel like that is not the way it is these days. And it's interesting that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. And so now finally a couple of VC firms, but then there was a huge scandal with one of them called 500 Startups, I think it was, with the Victorian government, and the director of the accelerator being, I want to say there was like, I could be wrong, it was like workplace harassment issues or something. So that all went.
That was probably, a big setback.
Yeah, not great. Yeah. But,
I I think we're good here. So thanks everybody
Cool.
for hanging out with us. And goodbye to the video viewers. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye-bye.